Have you ever wondered what the Geneva Convention was? As a prior Marine, I thought it was important to boost my knowledge on this topic, and I came to find out it wasn't just military personnel that benefited from it. It also benefits the civilian population. Today, I'm going to be covering the three main articles. We will also discuss Al-Qaeda and why they do not follow the Geneva Convention. There are 4 treaties and 3 protocols. The first agreement provides protection for all medical and their personnel and any civilian aiding a military or wounded individual. It was originally signed by 12 nations, but the U.S. was not one of them. It dealt with the treatment of wounded and sick armed forces in the field. The second convention. It suited the first to combatants at sea and shipwrecked sailors. This convention replaced the Hague Convention. The third convention was convened in 1929 and resulted in specific protection of prisoners of war. Defines humanitarian protections of prisoners of war. It is the only article of the Geneva Convention that applies in non-international conflicts. Although we have covered 3, there is yet a 4th remaining. The 4th reaffirmed the first 3 conventions and provided protection for civilians during wartime. A total of 196 countries have signed the Geneva Convention, agreeing to it and what it entitles. It was originally signed on August 22, 1864, in the Alabama room of the Geneva Convention Hall, or Geneva Town Hall. 12 states originally signed it. It wasn't until later that Germany, the United Kingdom, and the United States eventually signed. More than 180 states parties have agreed to the 1949 Convention. There are many reasons why certain countries do not agree with certain protocols or have not signed those protocols. For example, a lot of countries don't have weapons of mass destruction or nuclear weapons, so that certain parts of that Geneva Convention protocol do not apply to their country. Finally, the human rights of the prisoner of war. And why does Al-Qaeda not follow the Geneva Convention? Prisoners of war requirements and limitations. They must not be deprived of money or valuables of any kind without a receipt. They must not be given individual privileges of any kind. They must not be held in close confinement or except in breaches of the law. They must not be compelled to do military work or anything that is dangerous or degrading to the individual. Why Al-Qaeda does not follow the Geneva Convention? In February 2002, President Bush declared and determined Al-Qaeda terrorists were not prisoners of war under the treaty known as the Third Geneva Convention. Al-Qaeda could not be a party to the convention because it is not a state. They could not be covered by the treaty as prisoners of war because it stipulates that combatants must distinguish themselves from the civilian population, which the Taliban clearly did not. The conventions are long and complicated, very complicated, but they are essentially a series of do's and don'ts to apply during conflict to protect vulnerable and defenseless individuals. Their underline can be simply stated: the human dignity of all individuals must be respected at all times. Everything possible must be done without any kind of discrimination to reduce the suffering of people who have been put out of action by sickness, wounds, or captivity, whether or not they have taken direct part in the conflict. So the next time you thank a soldier, make sure you boost your knowledge and know exactly what they are giving up and what they are sacrificing. Sometimes it is better to lose and do the right thing than to win and do the wrong thing. Tony Blair.